Hello people, so welcome to our review of One Piece chapter 1061, and just following suit from the previous two chapters, oh boy, is Oda picking up the pace when it comes to approaching the final saga. We could very well be in the final saga. Following this chapter, the caption of the end of this chapter says it all, and this chapter leaves me with two questions which I'll get into by the end. I'll start off with the cover page. We see the Vince Smokes, all four of them, with Caesar Clown, making their way off Whole Cake Island, and it looks like they're making their way to freedom, which I pretty much said could be a possibility given Oven and Katakuri were affected by the hallucination gas and punching each other, and I pretty much said that the Vince Smokes could already be on their way, making their escape, and indeed that's the case, so they'll probably bump into Judge. And I already said this at the beginning, so there's no way that the German were going to be captured again, or they were going to be killed off, because why would you focus on them in the first place if that was the case? It's the same thing with Pound, even though it was annoying to some people that he had survived Oven's attack only to be brought back in the cover story. It led to him reuniting with Chiffon and Lola, his two daughters, which in turn is probably going to lead to Lola reuniting with Nami at some point, especially now we're at the end game. That has to come at some point. So the Vince Smokes the same reason. Especially now, this highly focused on science, which I'm sure Sanji's going to have some type of involvement with. We start off with jewelrybonney being somewhat rescued, although she got spat out the eddy that Zoro cut up in the last chapter, but she's still in hot water. Chopper can't get the job done to save her, so Luffy has to come in. He takes off from the Sunny and grabs a hold of her, but as they're doing this, there's a shark right underneath the Sunny. You can see the shading, so that was pretty cool. And Zoro describes it as a metal shark as soon as it comes up from the surface. It literally came out of nowhere, and they just about avoided it. Separates them from Luffy and Chopper and Bonney, who get swept to sea. Jinbei goes in, because obviously he's familiar with the sea, so that makes total sense. The Sunny tries to make an escape for it, but reveals a cannon inside its mouth and fires a missile right at the Sunny. The Sunny just avoids being attacked. Jinbei has a hold of Bonney, Luffy and Chopper. There's a current going on, and the current's too strong, so they're separated from the others right now. Then we have the shark about to fire again, but in comes a robot. Now, initially, when I saw this, I thought it was Frankie with a new model, but no. Especially with the end of this chapter, it's not. And it just literally just one-shots this shark, blows it up, and like I said, it separates the crew. You see Zoro holding his mouth, and it looks like Sanji has Robin, but then it cuts to a nearby island, a naval base, and we see Tashigi. Now, call me blind, but I didn't see Smoker at all in this chapter, and usually when you see Tashigi, you'll probably see Smoker, so where's he at right now? Either way, this gives us more exposure to Sword. So we see Vice Admiral Dole, G14 Commander. So we see Helmeppo and Hibari, and they're both members of Sword, and which we knew because we know Kobe's a member of Sword. And apparently Hibari owes Kobe Senpai for something, so we see the Rear Admiral of Sword, Prince Gruss, or Gruss. So this is pretty cool, giving us exposure, like I said, to Sword or other members. We see another girl with a hat with a sword, and it's not Tashigi because Tashigi's not wearing a hat. So Helmeppo pretty much asked, maybe we can deploy a Sephiroth, which is the SSG, I'm assuming that Fujitora was talking about, that was created by Vegapunk. And then Gruss pretty much says, both of you calm down. At the moment we can't get a hold of Drake. So Drake is, I don't know where he's at right now. He was on Wano last we saw. So he's a part of Sword too, so I don't know where he's at right now. Gruss pretty much says, we're in no position to act right now. So they're going to lay low for now, because Teach has Kobe. They're like, we need to do something about this, but they can't because it's Teach's territory. The other thing too is this island is nearby. It says it's nearby, but we don't know where. Is it nearby the island that Luffy's on right now? You see Jinbei, Luffy, Chopper, and Bonney with some awesome fan service, not gonna lie. Barney's like, thanks for saving me, but don't forget we're enemies. And immediately Luffy's getting it wrong, so don't sweat it, bogeys. So, like I said, awesome fan service. I'm sure a lot of people are going to like this chapter for various different reasons. That's probably one of them. Bonney brings up the whole point about Luffy's bounty poster now being different because obviously him being in gear 5th. So Luffy's like, yo, that's just how it look when I'm totally free. So I don't know what that's about when it comes to like Bonney having business with Vegapunk, but it could lead into the reuniting of the Straw Hats anyway. So we see the robot that decked the shark that ended up saving the Sunny because it has the Sunny in hand. Now I like this scene because it kind of peeps a grey area of where Vegapunk is friend or foe here. But it's like we see the rest of the crew and it turns out they're okay. Usopp and Frankie are like phantasming over the giant robot. And also, not to mention that Caribou is also with the Straw Hats. So we see Vegapunk revealed, which kind of threw me off a little bit because I wasn't expecting it in this chapter, but I guess it had to happen sooner or later. And we see that Vegapunk has glasses and a helmet, but immediately reveals Vegapunk's identity, and in this case, gender. And I think it's interesting that Frankie's the one that says, "Thanks for saving us, who are you?" And Vegapunk responds, "I ordered the Mecha Shark to scout and report and fire, but if it keeps trying to eat ships, there won't be anything left to salvage. I must have bungled the programming." Vegapunk takes off the helmet and glasses and reveals she's indeed a female, a girl. It's interesting, which I'll get into in a minute. But then Vegapunk responds, "Forgive me, but did you just say I saved you? Oh, you naive pirates. I work for the government despite my mediocrity. So they like to call me their scientific genius. You can call me Dr. Vegapunk." So, and that's the end of the chapter. Like I said, the caption says it all by the end. How unexpected. Definitely unexpected. Like I said, I like that it throws that grey area because now is Vegapunk friend or foe. She literally has them in hand. But judging from the direction the story's going to go in, it looks like it's going to go into an arc about Vegapunk. So I'm all for that. It's been a long build up for sure. And I think a lot of people are surprised by this reveal. I can't say I'm that surprised. I'm just surprised it happened in this chapter. But the whole thing about Vegapunk's identity and gender being revealed, listen, the reason it's shocking is because a lot of us put in our minds, and I'm guilty of this too, that Vegapunk, we assume, was going to be a male, a doctor, right? Dr. Vegapunk. That's literally going to throw people off. But when you get down to it, we literally thought the same thing about Kiku and Yamato and assumed their gender back in Wano, and we know how that turned out. That was not the case at all, so that was surprising, even though it wasn't to the amount of time that we've been anticipating, because this has been foreshadowed ever since the time skip, much like Wano and Kaido was foreshadowed back on Thriller Bark. It's been highly anticipated for a long time for Vegapunk to get revealed. Now we're in the final saga, so it was bound to happen sooner or later. It was just shocking how it happens. So, I can't say it's that shocking that Vegapunk turned out to be a girl. And the fact that Vegapunk says, "Oh, they like to call me the scientific genius, but I'm not perfect," which is great because she already knows she's not perfect. She thinks she's not a genius. What's this going to lead to? Is this going to be a arc that focuses on Frankie? Also, if you notice on the robot, also has a star, much like Frankie does. It could also focus on Sanji because Sanji's father, Judge, also used to be a part of MAD alongside Dr. Vegapunk, Caesar, and Queen. So that could play a role. Again, this chapter leaves me with two questions. Number one is, because of this chapter, does Vegapunk have a connection with Sword, giving that we went to an island that was nearby, what was taking place with Luffy. We know that on the island that has Vegapunk's research lab, Helmeppo pretty much asked, "Yo, can we deploy a Sephirum?" We know that Vegapunk is the one that created the Sephirums, the SSG in the first place. As far as we know, Sword are a secret organization that are in the world government, that are in the Marines, that do not agree or don't share the same philosophy as Akainu. Going to give us more exposition on that, so that could be cool. I thought it was interesting that Smoker was nowhere in sight in this chapter. And the second question I have, and this is probably the biggest one to come out of this chapter, pertains to the island, which I'm sure is going to cause a lot of discussion, but it also may get overlooked. But the island that we're on is said to be 500 years in the future. Okay? So first off, when was this sent into the future? And number two, how was this sent into the future? This is 500 years in the future and not in the past. Well, I'm pretty sure Rabbit's got plenty to say about that once they get to the island. When did this get sent 500 years into the future? When? Because it's 500 years. Who and how was this sent into 500 years into the future? Because to our knowledge, the only person that could travel in the future is Toki from the Kazuki clan. She traveled 800 years into the future, into Wano, when she came from Wano. When she first met Odin, she was already in that timeline. So how long was she there for? The other thing, is this a result of Toki's devil fruit being awakened and affecting that island? And maybe Vegapunk did something with that devil fruit, much like the government trying to create a replica of Kaido's devil fruit by taking his DNA and having it be labeled a failure. So like I said, that's the biggest thing to me that come out of this chapter. And the fact that Bonney said she had business with Vegapunk is going to lead to the reunion of the Straw Hats anyway. I know a lot of people don't like the fact that the crew are separated, but they're going to find their way to each other on this island, I can guarantee you. I don't know if it's going to be the next arc, or if it is, how long is it going to be? Is it going to be similar to like the Reverie? Given the way this arc and given the way this chapter ended up, Bonney is going to be sticking around with the Straw Hats. Listen, I hate to be the one saying I told you so, but the main thing to me is like Bonney could feed them information, but it looks like we're going to have to get the reunion first. The fact that Jinbei asked Bonney, hey, what happened to your crew? She literally said, I came alone. So that's very, very convenient that Bonney's ship just happens to be destroyed, because it means that now, without the Straw Hats, she's got no way to get off that island. It looks like Bonney's going to be sticking around with the Straw Hat too. She doesn't have a ship anymore. And the fact that she said she came alone makes me wonder what happened to her crew, because we haven't seen them before the time skip. So Bonney's going to be an interesting player in this arc, and interesting playing going forward. I said the same thing about Boa Hancock, because if she doesn't have a role, then Oda would have Blackbeard kill Boa Hancock and take her devil fruit, and instead Oda had Rayleigh come in to save Boa Hancock, because she still has a role to play. We just don't know what and when it's going to happen. Same thing with Bonney. She has a role to play, and Bonney is the only character that can give us exposure what happened at the Reverie that doesn't involve Sabo and Vivi, without actually spoiling what happened to them. Sabo, I don't know, because he was attacked, or we don't know. There's a lot of people saying that Sabo wasn't on Lucia Island when they got erased and he was nearby, so we'll have to wait and see where that goes. But other than that, it's like Vivi we don't know anything about, so Oda's not going to spoil that. Two things I said in the last review. One, I said this is going to lead us to learning more about Bonney, where she came from, her connection to Kuma in general. Oda didn't choose Bonney just for the hell of it. He chose Bonney to meet up with the Straw Hats at this particular time for a reason. I think it's to give information that could lead the Straw Hats moving forward post this arc. And the other thing I said about Bonney interacting with the Straw Hats is she could fill the role that Law was previously in. When we saw Law, he was by himself on Punk Hazard. We didn't see his crew either until Zoe. We don't know what happened with Bonney's crew. It could be possible her crew got decimated by Blackbeard, because we haven't seen them since. I know they were in Film Stampede, but that's not canon anyway. The fact that she doesn't have a ship, where's she going to go after this? She's going to definitely go with the Straw Hats. I don't know where to post this arc or post this island. And the fact that Luffy's already interacting with Bonney in a similar way Law was interacting with Luffy. The fact that Luffy's already given Bonney a nickname. Luffy would always call Law Tra and never call him by his actual name. It's the same thing here. It's the same gag. Calling Bonney Bogey. Bonney's in the position that Law was in. I don't know how long she's going to interact with the crew, but she's definitely in that position right now. The dynamic is already interesting though, I'll say that. Is Vegapunk friend or foe? So let me know what you guys think down below. I thought it was an incredible chapter to pretty much start off what could be the next arc in One Piece. That's going to do it for you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Like the review if you did it, thumbs up. I appreciate that. Subscribe to for more One Piece. Catch you guys later. Thanks guys. Bye.